Hello, Lana Quest.
This is a reminder.
You are the best. What are you getting a reminder about?
This is pay my excise tax.
Wait, what is that?
And my excise tax.
I don't understand what just happened. Do we
Alexa,
need to be concerned?
Alexis saying this is a reminder, pay your excise tax.
Do you need to go? Don't go. I can't do this alone, Lana. Don't leave me to pay. Did you set this up on purpose to get out of this?
Can I be honest?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
been going off since last Friday.
Can you tell Alexis to shut the fuck up?
I can't. I'll forget to pay it.
Oh. Wait, how long has it been going on?
Last week.
And
it's like the bill is right here.
Is that even opened? No. Yeah. Alexa, we got it.
Oh my God. How are you?
Look, at least Alexa's reliable. Unlike a lot of people, you know, every time her and I get up before we get on, we start talking about life. And then all of a sudden it's the 30-second countdown and we have to interrupt our talks.
That's because I really want to come on 30 minutes early, but it gets tough. And I got home late today too. So
yeah. Well, actually, I'm not even on 30 minutes early. So if that makes you feel
I don't feel bad. Good.
Yeah. So usually I'm right around 15 minutes before.
Oh, I don't feel as bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm prepping and doing all the shit and I've got everything set up, but you know, I'm kind of looking through things to see if there's any last minute stuff to kind of throw in there. But, and you know, there's probably always something last minute to throw into this fucking crazy
shit. On the day of, sorry, everyone, welcome to the Black and White Show.
Yeah,
we just get right into our own, you're viewing our creative process right now.
That is correct. You are seeing behind the curtain. Yeah. Whatever that means.
Do you prepare like the day of or like just the whole week you start jotting stuff down or what's going on?
So I'll start because, you know, a lot of crazy shit happens last week. Right. So I will find either articles or clips or something that might happen last week. And if it is still relevant and if there wasn't 7 other things that piled on top of this to basically push it out of the way, then, you know, I'll have that prepared. I always download clips to prepare. And then if I'm not going to use them, I just erase them so I don't get it confused and kind of, you know, that's sort of the process. But, but you know, as always, there's so many crazy things that happen. So it's kind of hard to keep up with, but it's hard. It's easy, but
yeah, both. Same, because I just write stuff down in my notes and then I look at it like I don't want to talk about any of this. Sometimes I just don't want to talk about it.
Well, it's taxing. To use a word that we've already used today, taxing.
Yeah.
It's and Alexa will remind us about that. And
probably in an hour.
It's depressing at times. It's sad. It's exhausting. There's a million different ways to, you know, express it, and none of it is really I mean, in a positive way, where the first story I'll bring up is positive in a sense that, you know, Donald Trump is kind of getting what he deserves. But at the end of the day, the fact that all of this or any of this is happening is really sad, and it's really depressing, and it's exhausting, as, you know, like I said, and you said, it's just at some point, you know, and we all need to escape from this bullshit that is going on in this country. And I think the problem is, at least for me, Lana, you tell me your thoughts, but I think the problem is that we don't see any light at the end of the tunnel of escaping any of this craziness.
Right. And that's why there's like such a big fight. Like you really, my lipstick is coming off. Sorry. It really feels like we're in a physical fight, because that's how you know things are going to get bad with Republicans in charge, because you feel beat up at the end of the day. And I'm not being, hyperbolic? Like, I'm not exaggerating this thing. This man is like, he's not just unfit. Like, that's just, we get that. That's the Who cares about that? Like, there have been unfit presidents before.
Mm-hmm.
Dangerous with being unfit. I mean, like, he has said what he wants to do is that dictator thing should really haunt everyone. Project 25 should really haunt everyone. Him being cozy with Orban should really scare everyone. Him talking
And Un and
right,
Putin and yeah.
right. Him talking about like if you're a real Jew, you shouldn't be voting for like all of that.
Yeah.
Immigrants aren't human. Like
Their opponents are vermin. You know, did you freeze up on me?
they're better.
Oh, there you
Oh
go.
man, when that thing paused, it paused you with one eye open and one eye closed. I
With
would
me,
edit that. Yeah.
we're like, what's happening? It's had they're probably hearing us talk. It's that damn government. They hear us talking and they freezing up our video.
Right. Right. Like it did. You were just like,
Yep. Well, you froze, and that
did
makes
I
me
have
freeze because I'm like, now do I have to do this shit all by myself? Now
yeah,
I'm
right. But you were
fucked.
frozen. Like we were probably both frozen.
Yeah, I was gonna have to get Alexa to help me host the show.
Don't say that so loud because she may answer.
That's
like,
true. Yeah, she'll answer. She'll be like, "Oh shit, I got to get back on that tax thing or the whatever it is." I gotta remind Lana of
excise tax.
excise tax. All right, so let's do this because we've already talked about how depressing and terrible and everything is.
Mhm.
There are some things that will make us smile, that will at least say, you know what, this fuckface is now at least getting what he deserves. Last week, lawyers for the former president and his co-defendants said in a court filing on Monday, it is impossible for them to secure the $464 million bond to appeal New York's fraud case against them. And the reason why that's a big deal is because it's going to be very difficult for them to appeal the damages that they would lose anyway. And the appeal obviously is, I think, they have in their mind that they'll find a way to win because they hear people like, what's his name? The Shark Tank boy, Kevin O'Leary, who seems to be going around on all these channels literally crying about Donald Trump. And he keeps saying it's not even about Donald Trump, it's about New York. And I can't believe they're allowing this. And, because there was no victims and nobody was hurt and he was paid back in full. And we talked about that on this show. And we use the analogy that if you get plastered drunk and you get in your car and you drive home and nobody gets hurt, does that mean you didn't break the law?
Right.
No, it doesn't. It means you
like,
still broke the law. You just didn't get caught.
Look the other way. No one got hurt. So imagine if every company, every rich, wealthy person just does the same thing and we just look the other way completely. What would that do to the state of New York? Everything else will right. All the people who can't afford it, their insurance will go up. Their insurances would explode.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, first of all, when you see a billionaire defending a fake billionaire, that's kind of the whole dichotomy of this whole country is what you just said is these billionaires come out and spew their messages and we're always just supposed to look the other way because they feel they literally can do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it. They have this God complex about them that I employ these people. I do this, I do that. I give. And they're not as giving as they think they are. They're as giving as what they have been told. They have a lot of sycophants around them that tell them how giving and great they are. So all that feeds into their ego and they legitimately think they are better than all of us and they know better than all of us. Yeah. And just because you're a very, very rich person does not mean you are bright. And that's something we're going to talk about a little bit later. But
Oh, and real quick.
Yeah.
So back to that for 1 second. Wealthy people, we know that you do this, right? The government already turns their back and kind of lets you inflate stuff a little bit. They know you're doing it. They allow that. What he did didn't he have like one of his buildings or properties like 400 times what it was worth. Like he was doing things that were just not nonsensical.
It was unbelievable, and it was to get loans. And then even
Right.
after one of the in the E. Jean Carroll case, when he kept coming out and doing one of his little goofy press conferences behind that barricade or whatever it is he was doing, he came out and said he was undervaluing his properties and that he's got plenty of cash. He doesn't even need these loans. And it turns out that that is obviously not true. In fact, they said they approached around over 24 companies through 4 separate brokers and have spent countless hours negotiating without securing an underwriter. Defendants' ongoing diligent efforts have proven that a bond in the judgment's full amount is a practical impossibility, is what his attorney said. And then he also had to post bond for the E. Jean Carroll case, which came out to close to $92 million. And he didn't even have that to post as bond. In fact, to do so, the bond was underwritten by an insurance company, Chubb, an international insurance provider based in Switzerland. But other terms of the bond, such as how much money or collateral Trump put down, were not disclosed. Trump has until next week to post the bond and prevent New York Attorney General Letitia James from collecting the court-ordered damages while he appeals. Now, first of all, it's not lost on me, and I'm certainly not saying this to pander. I'm saying it because I think it's hilarious that a black woman that is doing this to him, it's not lost on me how hilarious and awesome that is.
Yeah.
And that drives him probably even crazier.
Yeah. Yes.
And I love that. I love knowing that it is driving this guy crazy.
Yeah. He's got Bragg, he's got James, and he's got Willis.
Yeah. I saw this thing. I'm briefly going to go over this. I'm not going to read everything here, but these are the assets, so-called assets that Donald Trump, what everybody thinks that he owns. But a lot of people don't realize that most of the stuff, he doesn't own any of it. He owns part of it, or they just use his name for licensing fees. And sometimes there were times they had to use his name as a licensing agreement because he defaulted on loans. And instead of shutting it down, they thought, the bank now owns it, but we're still going to be able to use your name and we'll pay you. I think one of the numbers was $450,000 a month. They gave this guy, because he was such a terrible businessman, he could not figure out how to keep his own properties. But anyway, the Trump International Hotel and Tower, he owns the service areas. So he owns the parking garage, the valet booth, room service, kitchens, lobby bathrooms, a restaurant space, and one unit.
He owns the bathrooms.
He owns bathrooms. So I don't. How do you profit off of that? I'm sure he didn't profit. He probably lost money.
Yeah, that's what they say.
More money into the bathroom, and then they are like, okay, put as much money as you want in it, but it's not going to make you anything. Trump Tower, of course. The Trump Organization owns the retail and commercial portions of the building, and Trump owns a triplex apartment there, which he thinks is worth, more than what he owes. And if that's the case, it should be an easy sale. Same thing with Mar-a-Lago, which he says is worth $1.8 billion. And the person who does the appraisal assessments in that area says it's not worth even close to that. So I think
it's been updated in forever. Like that place will be worth money when Trump is gone.
Well, you saw even pictures with the documents inside of it. I mean, you had the cheap shower curtain rods, and
he has. But can you imagine Trump updating anything? Just having construction done on that place. He has never. If he needs something fixed, he probably does like everybody else. Has a plumber come in, fix what needs to be fixed, and then he's not updating that place. It's too expensive.
And then doesn't pay the plumber.
Right, that part.
Right.
That chandelier in that bathroom, that's straight from B porn movies.
Right. It really is.
I thought Ron Jeremy was going to pop out somewhere.
And there's a good possibility some B porn movies were shot in that bathroom. Anyway, with the Trump Tower has reportedly struggled with high vacancies, though a cast of infamous characters have called it home. In fact, I think some people said some Russian whoever were spending money in Trump Tower, probably more than they needed to, but they did it as probably a favor. A MAGA affiliated PAC was recently one of its most reliable tenants, paying $37,500 per month to lease office space and another $3,000 a month for a kiosk in a lobby, despite the lobby being closed. The Trump building on 40 Wall Street, he owns the ground lease there, which means he owns the ground lease to the 72-story building, which requires him still to pay the rent and the landowners. 1290 Avenues of the America, he owns a 30% stake. 502 Park Avenue, Trump may own some units. There's a building called Nike Town that he owns, same thing, ground lease there. And then Trump Park and Park East, he may own some units. In Trump Plaza.
He doesn't really have shit. He just got like things here and there, and you got some laundering schemes. That's what that sounds like to me.
That's exactly what it is. It's
money. They have these small little outfits everywhere.
Yeah, and there's quite a few more, and a lot of it's the same shit.
Money some kind of way, like he's getting money laundered.
Well, yeah,
he's laundering money.
He's also getting it on falsified loans is how he's getting a lot of this money.
I just go back to like, the properties that the Russians or those old oligarchs were buying from Trump at like this ridiculous amount of money, because it's what they do.
Right. Yeah, you're right. I got another question too. I mean, it is clear that, and it's no secret, that his daughter and his son-in-law got $2 billion from the Saudis. I wonder why they're not contributing anything, or are they? I mean, I haven't heard that they are.
Yeah, they were, because wherever he gets his money, he has to show where he got the money from. And I think they were saying, like, if they give him a loan, if anything is a loan, then there's a tax liability with the loan. Like, they can't just loan him that money. They have this taxes on it.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, would they consider it a loan, or would they consider it a gift? And is that different?
I think it's still a tax liability on it, from what I heard today. I think both ways there's still taxes. I don't know how it's different. Like, because
that's very possible. And it may be possible that, Ivanka may be very daddy-like and be like, I'm not handing you
that kind of money. That's an incredible amount of money. That's like an incredible amount of money. You can't just gift, because if you're gifting them, you're literally gifting them like that.
Right.
Gifting that much money.
Right.
That what?
I mean, it comes out to almost $600 billion when you add in the E. Jean Carroll case.
Yeah, that's not. No one can gift him that money. How do you gift him? And Elon ain't even trying to give him that mess. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, it's one of those things. Like I said, will he win the presidency? Who knows? I mean, he's obviously has a chance to do it, and if he does, a lot of his unfortunes right now could turn around a little bit. Of course, financially, I don't. He'll find a way to, huh?
Well, I was going to say, we keep talking about this part, because here's the part. Like, how in the world can we elect someone with all that debt? He is a liability. He is someone who could be blackmailed, because he's got to pay those things, whether he's a president or not. He's got to pay his debt.
Well, there's obviously speculation as to where he may already have been, compromised with the documents and everything. It is just the way he handled these documents, and the way he was so secretive about it, and the way he wanted them moved from one place to another, and how he had, people helping him do that is extremely suspicious. It would be suspicious if this were Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton. It would be suspicious if it were any of them. With Donald Trump, it's not just only suspicious. It is very possible that he shared some of these or sold some of this information for money.
why else would he have those?
Right.
He
It
takes
makes
all
no
that
sense.
documents and there's no profit to be made. He's just taking paper because he loves paper. No, he was looking at money. The Saudis were out there golfing at Mar-a-Lago, remember?
Yeah.
Or was it the other place in New Jersey? I can't remember which.
Bedminster.
Yeah. They were there.
Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't show them anything.
And
That's when around the time he had the documents. So we're gonna just say he didn't. He had those documents and didn't take them out at all.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Of course he did. Of course he did something nefarious with these documents because, I mean, he was literally fighting the fucking FBI that I don't have them, or, I'll give them back, or I'll do this, and here's some boxes, but the FBI, they come back and go, dude, we know you have more. What the fuck are you doing?
Right.
He's just like, I don't have them. And then he comes out later and says, I have the right to have them. It's like,
did they ever get them all, or were some missing? Because I don't think they got them all. I don't recall them getting all the documents that they needed.
I don't know that either. And that it's very possible that they did not get all the documents. And they warned him. They said, guy, we know you got them. We're just asking for them back. And I implore everyone that has not read the indictment of the documents case, which, by the way, we're going to talk about that a little bit later because I'm incensed about this case. But if you read the indictment to this case, I'm just telling you, first of all, it's an easy read. It is very comprehensive, and it's, I don't even want to use the word entertaining because there's nothing entertaining about it, but it is just every page you're like, you got to be fucking kidding me. It's impossible for anybody. That's why I said, if you read this indictment, whether you're a Trump supporter, whether you're not, explain to me how he gets out of this one other than the way we'll talk about here in a little bit. But before we do that, Donald Trump did another one of his crazy rallies. And of course, that made a lot of news in Ohio. He was doing a rally for one of the candidates that was running in Ohio.
And whoever knows who that is.
Nobody knows. And he'll surely lose because most of the candidates that he endorses loses. And that's just a fact. I mean, that's just... that's not even a surprise or a debatable anymore. A lot of the candidates that he endorses loses. A lot of the candidates that Moms for Liberty, those nutballs, they try to get on all the school boards. Most of them lose, which again makes me feel better about this country, that overall that people see what's going on and they're like, okay, this is just way too crazy for me. So, so eyes are open, and they have been since Donald Trump has been elected. I have talked about before, and Lana and I have talked together about this, that, when Donald Trump came on the scene, there was a lot of people that got involved in politics that never were involved in politics before. Some for the good, some for the bad, and the ones for the good were the ones who are now so-called woke, and they are understanding what's happening. But you also have ones that don't understand the policies. And I'm not saying the ones that are woke understand all the policies. I'm not saying that they do, but they understand what's happening in this country, where the other ones are trying to avoid these things happening in the country in spite of it hurting them personally. So, but anyway, we'll get to the certainly the main crux of this rally. But here's how Donald Trump opened it, with his famous national anthem sung by the January 6th choir.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the horribly and unfairly treated January.
I gotta say, when I first heard that guy with the ladies and gentlemen, with the horribly, and I thought it was like a Stephen Colbert thing where they were doing a joke, and it turns out that was not a joke.
Like that was for real.
All right, let's finish up and hear what he has to say.
January 6th hostages.
Idiot is saluting. Wow. It's not a military thing. He shut his hand. So it sucks because there was a part of the clip that in the middle of that so-called anthem, it didn't go through the whole anthem. It goes, "Oh, say, can you see?" And it gets to a certain point, and in the middle of it, they play a clip of Donald Trump saying the Pledge of Allegiance. So not only do they disgrace the song by adding the voice of a guy who caused an insurrection in this country to our national anthem, I think back of Colin Kaepernick and how people lost their mind about him taking a knee on the suggestion of somebody from the military said that if you're going to protest, that we would appreciate rather you sitting on the bench, that you take a knee during the national anthem, because that is more respectful. Them losing their minds and wanting to get their guns and shoot people and call up DirecTV and cancel their NFL package at the time. This is perfectly acceptable.
Go figure. Go figure.
It's awesome.
It's what the fuck is wrong with you, America? It's like, what is wrong? I don't know how these people watch this shit and like think that is like normal. Like, yeah, felons. They are felons. That you guys are like, the former president is like praising felons and like saluting them or whatever the fuck it was doing. Like, they're in there because most of them admitted to it, right? They pled guilty.
Correct.
And said that they did it.
Yep. And were remorseful.
Right. But here we are calling them hostages, which of course is extremely disrespectful to the real fucking hostages.
Correct. That's exactly right. We do have hostages.
We have hostages.
Right. And you know, it's even scarier than you think, because it's him just calling them hostages isn't one of those things where he's going to do his Donald Trump thing. He is saying that if he becomes president, that he will release them from prison. So basically what he is telling the world is that if you side with me, that you can do whatever you want. I will let you free. And then anybody that sides against me may be, you know, where you were, and we're going to replace them. People want to talk about the great replacement theory. That's the replacement theory that I'm afraid of, that we're going to replace those fucking assholes who were traitors to our country and replace them with law-abiding citizens because they disagreed with that fucking idiot.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right, because that is the scary part. Like, it's like if he does pardon them, which he could have pardoned them before he left office too, right?
He could have, 100%. Right? Yep. Yeah. Well, he pardoned people like Steve Bannon and
he picked and
Roger Stone. Yeah.
Right. Very strange. But when those guys come out, now you're saying, hey, Nazis and you know, white supremacists and the rest of you guys, do what you want. Like, you can do what you want in a Trump America. And I think that's why he has the support of the bottom feeders, because that's exactly what they want. Like, they want to walk around with their guns everywhere, anywhere, and do what the fuck they want. Torment people, lynching. Hey, let's do that. Like, they don't care. Kill, you know, a gay couple. Like, they don't. That's what they want.
If there is what is perceived as a Black Lives Matter protest, a Kyle Rittenhouse will be born again. The 100 Kyle Rittenhouses will be.
They will go on purpose with their guns to do that, because
with permission.
Right. Because they know that Donald Trump has said, no, it's fine under my watch. I don't care.
Yep. Yeah. You get permission from not just your mommy who will drive you there, but from the president of the United States. And that's fucking scary. And that's what I really don't think a lot of people don't grasp this. They don't understand. They also don't understand. I think one of the other things too is, you know, you can hear some people, you and I have talked about this, some of the progressives or some of, you know, even disappointingly Jon Stewart on his first show, where you basically say we can get through 4 years of this. if anybody doesn't conjure in their brain for a second that 4 years goes by, and let's say Donald Trump decides I'm going to be done being president, which there's a possibility he will find a way where he's not done being president.
Right.
But let's say he does. Let's say it's a Gavin Newsom versus a Tucker Carlson, and Gavin Newsom beats him, but Donald Trump is still in office. Are you going to tell me they're not going to try to find a way to?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. He's gonna
Because they
try to
know the formula now, Lana. They
Right.
know what to do. They didn't do it right the first time. They know
Right.
how to do it the second time, and appoint the
Right.
people in there that will be the do boys for that orange idiot and will do whatever Steve Bannon tells him to do.
Well, okay. And if that's not scary enough, how about a Vivek
Ramaswamy,
was it the national security guy?
Secretary of State, or
Something. How about that?
how about
was
in
the
any
one.
position?
Right. It's right. It's like that's like, this is not a joke. America is just not just here and nothing is going on. And I think like people travel in their every day, go to work, come home, feed the kids, and they really don't think about there's a system in place with America. Now talk about the systemic racism part. That's another story. But there is a system in place that protects us. Like there are how things are moving, like why we have allies, like, we have a place that's making money. Like just all of these things, and no one pays attention to those things, like why we have a Secretary of State, why we have like the National Defense, whatever he's called, secretary. Yep. Like there's a reason why we have these people. There's a reason why America has like embassies in all these different countries. There are things that are happening that you're not knowing that it's happening. And if you get a Trump presidency,
yep,
it gets knocked off of balance. Like it's just, you can't just put, like he's gonna have freaking Rosie O'Donnell somewhere, like you being the next HUD secretary.
Well, not Rosie O'Donnell because he hates her, but it would be Roseanne Barr.
Oh, yeah,
is who I think you meant. Yeah,
sorry.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Roseanne Barr.
Well, you said it is, all the things that are in place for a reason, and none of them are perfect. But I think what the Trump sycophants and the people in the Trump world, what they'll do is they'll take those small imperfections and blow them up and make it look. And so they'll use that as the reason as to why we need to change this. We need to get rid of NATO. We need to get rid of, and they will take those little tiny morsels of what may be, something that is not perfect, but overall the scale says NATO is way better to be, to have than not. It's not even close, right?
Like that's like simple common sense. Why do you want to be on an island alone?
If you are in a neighborhood and there's a guy terrorizing all kinds of neighborhoods, would you want in your neighborhood a bunch of people together, even though sometimes you might not like the across the street neighbor, but he knows that if this guy comes in to attack your neighborhood, that everybody is going to jump on this guy and fuck him up.
Exactly, because it's about we're not going offense, right? NATO is not going around attacking. NATO is like, hey, all of us are putting a certain amount of money into our defense, right? So if anyone attacks us, we're going to be ready. So that's what all of us vow to strengthen our military and make sure that we're ready. That is our number one goal. So that if somebody attacks one of us, they attack all of us and we're ready to go. So that is what... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no. Go ahead. That's what you're right. And I'll just say the unfortunate thing is I keep talking about these little morsels of things. They'll say something like, well, the military's woke now and they want DEI, so now our military is weak. And you get idiots to believe that our military is weak.
Like, what the fuck does that mean? There have been celebrities that have served in the military and came back and became movie stars. Fucking Ronald, who was the freaking Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Like these people.
Yeah. It makes no sense. But let's play this next clip. But before we do, I want to acknowledge our friend DA who had a comment.
DA.
If you are having a bad day, just take a deep breath and say, at least I'm not accruing $2.6 million a month in interest on a debt like Trump is. And that is something that, again, makes me smile.
Right.
Makes me smile.
Hey, they broke
Here's
it
another.
down by minutes too, didn't they? Or seconds. It was something crazy, a second too, that he was accruing. Like, break that down.
Right. And I loved how Letitia James was updating every day how much on her Twitter, how much now he owed because the day it all was awesome. But here's something else that's hilarious, and then we're going to get to the bloodbath comment. But before we do that, once again, Dementia Don was on display when, for some bizarre reason, he thinks that Joe Biden beat Barack Obama in, I don't know in what, but when you listen to this clip, Lana, because I don't hear a lot of people talking about this on this clip, I want you to listen to it very carefully. He says Obama twice. I want you to listen to the second time he says it. It's at the very end of the clip. And I want you to hear what I heard. See if you hear what I heard, okay?
Biden, in the largest margins ever. You know what was interesting? Joe Biden won against Barack Hussein Obama. Has anyone ever heard of him? Barack Hussein Obama, or is
Obama.
He said Obama, didn't he?
Obama.
Yeah. Barack Hussein Obama. Imagine how
he said Biden beat Obama.
He beat Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. And imagine how simple you have to be. Like I would have to evaluate my life if somebody said a trigger name that would make me so happy, like calling him Hussein Obama. You know, like it's just such a weak, stupid thing, but it's just such a little trigger thing for those morons who go, yeah, that Muslim, you know, it's like, oh, God damn it, you fucking people.
Yeah, but then he didn't even stick the joke because he said his name wrong in the end. So here you are trying to assault him, but not even saying his right name, you idiot. Like
on the on Black and White with Brian Rundle and Lana Quest, he did not stick the joke. But in that comedy club, every time he sticks it. I mean, they're on their 12 drink minimum that they had in the fucking parking lot during the tailgate before. Yeah.
Obama.
Obama. Oh, I can't stand this idiot. Okay, so this was the comment that got all the news the other day. He referenced a bloodbath if he doesn't win. So I'm going to play two clips. I'm going to play the first clip that everybody's playing that said he referenced a bloodbath if he doesn't win. And then I'm going to play the full clip and see if we can tell, a difference, just to be fair.
You're not going to be able to sell those guys. If I get elected, now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. But they're not going to sell those cars. They're building massive factories. A friend of mine.
Okay, so that was the first clip, and everybody was very upset because they were like, well, if you play the full context of the clip, then you would really understand what he said. So Lana and I are going to play the full context of the clip and see if there's a difference on what you think that Donald Trump meant by there'd be a bloodbath if he does not win.
Mexico has taken over a period of 30 years, 34% of the automobile manufacturing business in our
I just, something jumps out at me, by the way. The dude in the background with the red tie and the sunglasses, there's just something I know that if I spoke to him, I just know I would not be able to stand that kid.
No, you won't. He's there. He probably didn't even change his underwear for here. He just
right.
a white shirt and a red tie, and he thinks he's like professional.
Sat in the parking lot all night. Okay, let's finish up. Come on, Donnie.
Country. Think of it went to Mexico. China now is building a couple of massive plants where they're going to build the cars in Mexico and they think that they're going to sell those cars into the United States with no tax at the border. Let me tell you something to China. If you're listening, President Xi, and you and I are friends, but he understands the way I deal, those big monster car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us. Now, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it.
Except for the
But
country.
they're not going to sell those cars. They're building massive factories. A friend of mine.
Okay, so
All he
wait, I don't want to play him anymore. We're done with you, Donnie. Okay, so we played the full clip, and Lana, what are your thoughts?
Outside of he's an idiot? Like,
Yeah, shit.
the bloodbath comment? Wait, like, here's the thing. He doesn't even talk in full sentences.
No.
Half the time, he will say something, start with something, the car, and then all of a sudden he'll start talking about Jewish people, and then all of a sudden he'll go back to the cars.
Right.
Like, so that's how he talks, and they're trying to take advantage and say, no, it was related. It wasn't related. It was two separate thoughts that he said. He said the bloodbath for the country was what he said. He didn't say the auto industry, a bloodbath for the auto, and he said country.
Well, he also, you know, like you said, he was like, that'll be the least of it. And
Right,
again, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and mince words and play games with this fucking guy anymore. I mean, he has said, he's told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by. He's called his opponents vermin. He's used language like this in the past. And he knows that when he says something like that, it's the dog whistle for these morons who are, he's just jazzing them up and getting them angry and keeping them angry just in case he loses. You know, and I'm glad that he acknowledges the fact that he could possibly lose, which tells me, and I may be wrong on this, I don't know this is a fact, but it tells me that there's a possibility that he thinks, or he's been told, you're not a sure thing to win this thing. So let's just be honest. And in fact, a new poll came out today. There's back-to-back polls now that just come out that Joe Biden is now taking the lead in a couple polls over Donald Trump. We talked about this last week, suspected that this could happen after the State of the Union address. And, you know, the fact that Joe Biden is raising, so he, after that State of the Union, literally within 24 hours, raised $10 million, which is insane. I mean, that's just crazy within 24 hours. So
Gonna be asking him for money to pay his. It's like, can the Democratic Party pay my bond?
Right. That's exactly right. Yeah. Can you? Yeah. Hey, I'll pay you back. I promise.
Come on, Sleepy Joe.
Yeah, come on, Sleepy Joe.
Let me get that.
Be the greatest if there was a record, and you know, there's a possibility of a recorded phone call of that coming out. So, yeah, and somehow the Trump sycophants would deny it and spin it somehow, and that's got to be we talk about being exhausted. That's got to be an exhausting job, is spinning the words of Donald Trump.
Yeah. Oh my God, you're right.
But you know what? Sometimes though, it becomes like muscle memory. It's, you know, now it's just so ingrained that I don't know if it's exhausting for them anymore. They just know what to do and how to say it and what to say, because it's not like they're lifting a lot of weights with the people that they're speaking to.
Which is ridiculous, right? Because, you know, I don't even like to deal with people in my personal life if I have to try to explain and figure out what they're talking about.
Right.
I don't want to talk to you anymore because it means you're talking in code and you don't want me to know. Like, it's like, I don't want to do that. Every time you turn around, they're trying to explain what the hell he's saying. Like, that's a problem.
Right. That is a problem. But I don't know. You know, like I said, we've heard this kind of language with him before. Let's just say Lana and I agree that we're going to give him a pass on this one, which we're not. But let's just say we are.
Correct.
This doesn't take away from all the things that he said in the past. This does not take away from who he is and what we believe and know that he is at this point. So this guy's a danger to this country, and he's a danger to democracy. He's a danger to the Constitution. He's a danger to the world. And if you feel like that he's the best way to go for you, I think at some point you're going to be highly disappointed that you made that choice.
Agreed. They don't understand. They've never seen a country without freaking laws. Like, when the government is corrupt. Look at Haiti. Y'all don't get it? You think that can't be us with a corrupt government? I could see Donald Trump trying to get rid of the whole Democratic Party from government and just have the Republicans running the whole government, them taking money from China and Russia, all kinds of bad deals. Yeah, just lawlessness, and him not leaving.
Did you see the elections in Russia recently where literally, I mean, they had people going into the voting booths in some of them and staring over the people's, basically like, who are you voting for?
Right. And
there were some Russian protesters that said, I'm not voting for this guy. Fuck you. And of course they got arrested. They did get arrested for doing things to the voting machines. They were trying to, I can't remember exactly what they were using to try to destroy the voting machines and doing all this, but they were doing it in protest. Obviously that's not, you can't do that at all. And that's the America Donald Trump wants. There is a clip going around. This was from a while back. I don't know. Twitter every once in a while revamps these clips that were from a year ago, and all of a sudden it's prevalent again. But it was Donald Trump talking to Steve Doocy, praising Kim Jong-un about how smart he is and how he's got his people in line. And he literally says, that's how I want my people to be. My people is what he says. And he's got 30% of the country as his people doing his bidding. He says it.
Like, that's all I can say. But I don't even think, sorry, my son is like walking back and forth.
That's okay.
For a minute, we were like, just watch the local news. You could get a little something from them. I don't even know if you can. I was watching the local news after Putin's election, and they were talking about the Putin's election. They're like, Putin won in a landslide, 87%. And that was just the reporting. That was the reporting of it. So if you don't have history of who Putin is, and that's so dangerous right now, because we know that there is somebody running for president right now who loves Putin, who wants to be a dictator like Putin. So for you to, formalize your news just to act like it was an ordinary election. I mean, I'm not saying you should sway, but fucking tell the truth. Like, that's not true.
That's and that's the problem I have with media nowadays. In fact, I saw a tweet today from Caitlin Collins, and I like Caitlin Collins, and I don't really watch it as much, but
Caitlin Collins,
she's on CNN, one of the reporters on CNN, and she had expressed news about the Trump money that he owes, and that she reported on there that Donald Trump is mad that he's got to put this up, and states that this never happened to him, or it's never happened to anybody before. But the problem with that tweet is that she did not complete the reporting by saying, of course, this is standard practice where you do have to put it down in order to make an appeal. Right. But when you just read that, you think, oh, Donald Trump's getting fucked here because the judge is against him.
Ooh, correct.
Basically just what you said.
Yeah. Like, stop doing that. That's like, you're doing a disservice to people. And maybe we need to stop focusing on the media and start focusing on the people to say, do more research. Like, just do more research. If you're watching local news and you hear them talking about something, you're gonna have to start Googling, because all you do is ask Google the question, and it's so neat right now. It will give you an answer in one short paragraph up to the top. The truth is gonna be right there, and then it gives you all the different articles you can go into. But like, they kind of give you the answer right there of
Yeah,
what
and
happened.
it's kind of in a way though, Lana, it's kind of a shame that we have to do that. And not to say that, and
No,
I'm
it's true.
glad that we have that at our fingertips, and I'm glad that we're able to do that. But there's a small percentage of people that are going to go out of their way to
Right.
get what the actual news is. I swear on my life, if I see something on a Twitter, if I see something on social media that I'm like, oh shit, that is, something I might want to talk about with Lana on the show or something like that,
Right.
I'm going to research it and
Yeah.
investigate it first
Yeah.
before I do that. A lot of
Absolutely.
people will just read the meme or they'll read the headline and go, holy shit, did you see what happened? Donald Trump's being unfairly treated by the judge, and he's got to put it down, when it's never happened in the history of the country, where of course it's standard practice. And it certainly has.
Same with the ban on TikTok, right? Everyone thinks it's the ban that they voted on, right? Like, the House voted for the ban, is going to the Senate, and Biden said he'll sign it, right? So it's like ban. And like, in the beginning, I'm like, I need to like look up what's happening if Biden is signing it, because his administration is not a fool, so they're not going to be trying to sign something that's just kind of absolutely ridiculous, right? And then I asked my kids, I'm like, what do you know about it? Because they're always on TikTok, just
Yeah.
scrolling. And
I'm glad you asked them. What'd they say?
Yeah, the government's trying to ban it. I said,
Yeah.
that's actually not what's going on, right? So I had to explain to them, number one, who TikTok is owned by, because I had to look that up too, and I can't even remember who it was. Like, that.
Well, it's owned by the Chinese
company in
government.
China.
Yeah.
Right. But it's a specific guy who's specifically on whatever communism, whatever. They're taking your, I'm like, they're taking your information. I'm like, what they do is they take your information, the sites that you go on, the things, so they can give you information. I'm like, China can give you so much false information. They can create domestic terrorists here because they're going to feed you just that information. I said, they can throttle anything positive Democrats are doing. They can throttle it so that it doesn't go viral, and then like force you to hear all kinds of Trump stuff all day. All blacks love Trumps, like all those videos. You will see those videos if they know that you are a person of color. So I said, that is why they're not banning it, but they're moving to force them to disband.
Yeah. So what they want to do, and it's funny you bring this up, because I wrote it down, and I even had a question mark about it. I was going to say, Londa, do you want to talk about this TikTok thing? Because I know some about it. I don't know everything, but here's the one thing I know. It's basically controlled by the Chinese government. And what America is saying is that we don't want to ban TikTok. What we want to do is, within I think 90-day period, or there's a certain day period, what they want to do is force the Chinese to sell it to an American company. Now, here's the opposite side of that. The opposite side of that is now somebody like Steve Mnuchin, who worked for Donald Trump, wants to purchase it. And it's just like Elon Musk owning Twitter. When you have a sycophant that now owns a social media company, what's the difference as to whether or not it's in China's hands or it's in American people's hands? Because that's just as dangerous.
They're going to do the same thing. So you would think that. And here's a problem with these different apps and social media. It's like our laws haven't caught up yet, because even if Steven Mnuchin bought it, who's a Trump supporter, whatever, even if he had the company, we should have laws in place that limit what these apps can do and the information that you could take from these apps. But
100%.
we're not there yet. So that is why that would be a problem, because it shouldn't be a problem if there were like regulations.
Well, I know there's a case right now in the Supreme Court regarding social media and the government's role in it. I'm not as versed on it right now, so it's something I'm not going to get that much into it. But I see we have 30 people watching, which is great. If first of all, if you guys could like and subscribe to this video, if there really truly are 30 people
Let me ask you a
watching.
question about that.
Yeah.
Because so last week I did my show and it got up to like 200 and something people that said viewing, but that didn't calculate.
Yeah, it didn't on mine either. And what I suspect is this: you go live on Twitter, right?
Yes.
So I think the way it's done, and I don't know if this is connected with this particular channel, but the way it's done is if you scroll by and just see for a second your video, it counts as a view. Now, I don't know if it counts on here,
but it doesn't count as a view on YouTube.
Right. Correct. Exactly. So it's weird. I think that may be part of it, or if you have any other social media like Facebook or if anybody just scrolls by it, it stays pretty steady at 29 or 30. So you think that many people are watching.
Right.
I'm anticipating there isn't.
They don't, because that's last week. I was like, oh shoot, there's like 150. Then it got up to like 200. I'm like.
Well, you know what? Obviously, that must have changed in the last couple of weeks, because last week and the week before, that's when I first started noticing it. Because before then, you would just see, a certain amount of people were watching, like 3, 4, and now all of a sudden it's 29. All right, if 29 people are watching, there's no reason for you to not hit the like button right now. So I expect to see at least 29. All right, maybe all 29 aren't going to like it. Let's just say 20. Is that a fair number?
Right. Exactly. That sounds
20.
good.
All right. You want to get pissed off?
More? Let's go.
Yeah.
Sure.
You want to add on to the
might as well.
Okay. So this fucking Eileen Cannon that is on the documents case that you and I were talking about earlier. She's lost her fucking mind. And so last week there was a ruling that she made. It was based on whether or not what was the ruling? It was whether or not. Damn it! What do you remember the ruling that she made last week? Why am I drawing a blank?
Is it the thing that she just wrote about the jury selection?
No, so that's what I'm going to talk about today. But she
hold yes. It had, because it was not, of course, not in Jack Smith's favor.
I'll tell you what it is. Yeah, I'll tell you what it is, because it's going to be in this. But first, let me get to what she did today. The judge overseeing Donald Trump's classified documents case issued an unusual order late Monday regarding jury instructions at the end of the trial, even though she has not ruled on when the trial will be held or a host of other issues. Huh?
I'm just like complaining. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So Eileen Cannon instructed lawyers to file proposed jury instructions by April 2nd on 2 topics that are related to defense motions to have the indictment dismissed outright. Cannon, a relatively inexperienced judge who was nominated by Trump and has been on the bench since late 2020, listened to arguments about the 2 defense motions last week. In a hearing, she sounded skeptical that Trump's attack on the Espionage Act or his embrace of the Presidential Records Act were strong enough to save the former president and likely the 2024 Republican White House nominee from a criminal trial. At the same time, she suggested the aspect of Trump's arguments might be valid enough to play during jury instructions. So that's basically what it was, is Trump's argument that he's president and he can, take these documents, and then she ruled against that. But what she did was she ruled it with what they call without prejudice, which means that they can bring this back up in the trial again during the trial. So, and this is something I research, and why I understand that is important. So if she had ruled in favor of Donald Trump and threw the case out, that Jack Smith would have been able to go to the 11th Circuit, appeal that decision. Almost every legal expert would have agreed with Jack Smith, and they would have redone the trial, but this time without Eileen Cannon. Now, Eileen Cannon knows this. Either she knew it up front or she was told this. So she ruled not in favor of Donald Trump. So they cannot appeal this, but she ruled it without prejudice, so they can bring it back up again in the case later. And if Donald Trump wins the case, then Jack Smith cannot appeal that. So obviously some shady things going on here. But what a lot of experts are saying here, and Lana, I'm not a legal expert, but what they're saying here is so egregious of what she's doing here is that Jack Smith almost at this point has no choice but to ask her to be recused from the trial.
Has to.
And people are kind of wondering, what is he waiting for? And I think we all agree he knows what he's doing, but
he's definitely going to do, especially with this jury thing, the jury instructions without a trial. Where they do that at?
Yeah.
Where they do that at? How do you have jury instructions? And she has jury instructions. She's the one that made.
Right.
And she's like,
is that Alexa again?
Just let me know you're done.
Do you want to just go take care of that, or?
So
we want to make sure you don't miss what you need to miss.
But the jury, okay. So are we going to talk about the 2 questions that she's putting to the jury?
Yeah, let me see.
That's the
Go ahead and
crazy
see what you're
part.
saying, and let me see if I can find these. Juries, yeah, here we go. Juries are instructed on how to weigh the evidence just before they begin deliberating. So Cannon's focus on the topic suggests she is not only thinking ahead to a trial of the former president, but already zeroing in on the end rather than the beginning of such a proceeding. Her 2-page order, however, also suggests an openness to some of the defense claims that the Presidential Records Act allows Trump or other presidents to declare highly classified documents to be their own personal property. So she's basically saying they can make that decision as to whether or not the president can just declare these are his.
Right. He's given them 2 choices, right? This is what she's given. The jury can either, Jack Smith has to choose one. Which one do you want, Jack?
Yeah.
Either the jury goes through all of the documents that we have here, right? They got to get clearance or whatever. I don't know how that would work. Every single document, and decide which ones should be personal and which ones belongs to the archives or the government.
Right.
That's the first decision. Who the fuck's doing that? No. Then the second decision is, we're, I guess, assuming that he is immune to all of it, and he gets to decide which one was, personal, which one was the government. So then the jury has to then go, yeah, this is right, this is personal, yeah, this is right, this is the like, both are in big fat no. Like, how does he not? Like, she's giving it to Trump. Like, it's not even, it's before we knew, but people really didn't want to say it because it wasn't outright. But at this point, it's outright. Like, what the fuck are we talking about the jury and we don't have a trial date?
She made a very egregious decision early on in one of the trials before, where people were just like, this woman has no idea what she's doing. And damn it, I meant to look at exactly what that was. But there was something that she did in another trial before regarding Trump, and they were like, this is crazy, this is insane. And now the talk is that Jack Smith probably should do what he, I'm sure, should have done a while ago. Of course, I don't know. I think Jack Smith knows exactly better of what he's doing than I do.
Yeah, he probably didn't want to just, because again, just like, you have the analysts, the ones that are attorneys and prosecutors, they didn't cross the line of saying, oh, she's working for Trump, but they were getting close to like, she's kind of, because what she was doing was working within what she can to help him. Like, she was just using all the measures, and it wasn't an outright help, but she was giving him the benefits of the doubt. But this right here is like,
the obviousness of it is just as obvious as what Donald Trump said when he mentioned Bloodbath. I mean, we know at this point, we know what's going on here.
We're going to give a jury, oh yeah, go read all these documents, and you tell us by the definition that I'm giving you that which ones are personal, which ones are private. or under the presidential blah 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 act. And like everyone's saying, Jack Smith didn't file this case under a presidential act. He used espionage. So
Right.
none of this has to do with the presidential act.
Right. And by the way, again, I implore anybody to go read the indictment. The Presidential Records Act have nothing to do with what Donald
Right.
Trump did. What Donald Trump did was
Right.
he took classified documents, which Mike Pence did, which Joe Biden did, and surely some
Correct.
other presidents in the past did.
Right.
When they
Right.
discovered that they had these documents, they called right away and said, hey, we have these documents. Come get them. They were investigated. Joe Biden was investigated, obviously did nothing wrong, did the right thing. Donald Trump did the same thing. He was asked, give them back. Donald Trump said, I don't have them. They said, yes, you do. He's like, but they're mine. It's like, no, they're not.
Right.
They're like, okay, I'm not giving them back. Okay, here's the deal. We're coming to your house to come get them if you don't. They warned this fucking guy.
Right.
He's like, I don't care. They came to his house, then he whined. Oh my God, they broke into my house. They did all this, they did that.
Before that, didn't he? Didn't he try to hide
He did.
them?
He successfully moved some. In fact, there was a gentleman on CNN that worked for him for years. And, he came out because Judge Cannon also was threatening to release the names of the people that were on the witness list. So this kid came out and just said, fuck it. If my name's going to be out there, then I'm going to tell the truth.
Right.
Came out, told the truth about how he loaded these boxes in when Walter Nauta, Donald Trump's associate, just said, hey, we need to use this Escalade. He's like, I have no idea what it is. I just figured I'm just the president. He's putting boxes in this truck and, and they were leaving for New Jersey. So that's, clearly what happened. So, they warned him numerous times. They even said, look, dude, we know you have them. All you got to do, all you got to do is give them back.
Right.
We know exactly what the fuck you have.
You have the obstruction charge because of that. And don't forget to tell the people how long this went on. This wasn't like a week or two with them dilly-dallying with Donald Trump. This went on for what? Over a year? This man kept these documents?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get them back from him for over a year.
Yeah.
But he's being treated unfairly.
That's exactly correct. I mean, the leeway that he got that to me pisses me off.
Exactly.
If we want to get mad at, law enforcement, that angers me that it took that long. Right. They treated this guy with kid gloves. They basically gave him the roadmap of exactly what they're going to do if he does not comply. He did not comply. So finally they were forced to oh, fuck, we got to go to this guy's house and get this shit now.
Right. He's got our national security, and they let him have it. And the government, shame on them, because they let a private citizen have our national security documents for over a year. What are secrets?
Unbelievable. I mean, just this is unbelievable. It just sometimes you don't even know what to say.
Exactly.
You're just like, how is this possible? And how is this happening? And so out of all the stuff, and we just named a couple of things tonight. One of these stories 20 years ago, 10 years ago, one of these stories would have been a major headline and in history books for 100 years. But a new story happens every week that just wipes out every other week, and it just, or it piles on and you can't even remember all the shit. And then you get, it's unbelievable. And then we're fucking 8 months away from the election that this guy's a chance of winning.
Right.
Okay.
But they're the same.
Same guy. Yep. Yeah. Same thing. Just that just drives me insane when they say that. Just drives me insane. All right, so I was debating as to whether or not to bring this up because I'm just not even a fan of either one of these guys. But it was interesting, and the reason why I bring it up, basically, you and I were talking about TikTok and the power that one person could have over a social media thing. But did you happen to catch any of the Don Lemon and Elon Musk interview?
Oh, when Elon walked off? Or was
he didn't walk off. So
what happened?
What happened was, and Don Lemon seems okay enough, but I might just have this thing against, because me with cable news. I just had this thing, with him and then Chris Cuomo during that too. I didn't like it because it just sounded. I don't know. It didn't seem to me. They both seemed, a little condescending at times. They seemed, and Hugh certainly was condescending to Elon, which that I didn't mind. But here's what the reason too, what bothers me about Don Lemon is, you could tell, Don's not going to come out and tell you, what his politics are, because that's not his job. He's a journalist, and but you have a feeling of which way he leans.
Right.
And so Elon Musk, in this, what I think is a phony effort to get people to get on X,
Right.
because he wants to diversify, and he wants to have both sides on his platform. That's really not, in my opinion, what it's about. It's about that he wants to bring these advertisers back that left his platform because he espouses racism and all this stuff.
Right.
And that the fact that somebody like Don Lemon would get in bed with Elon Musk,
Yeah, weird.
I'm not a fan of that. I don't like it. So they apparently got together and said that you will be now on X, your new Don Lemon show.
Right.
Now it's not exclusive to X. It's on YouTube. It's on
Right.
Spotify, whatever. But they did this 1 hour interview. And Elon did not like the questions. He did not like how he's being pressed. And immediately afterwards, dismantled the contract with X. So the free speech advocate, the guy who wants free speech on his platform, does not like free speech when it comes to himself. But I have a couple of clips from the show. So if you have not seen any of these, it'll be interesting to see your reaction. The first clip I'm going to play is Don asked Elon about race in this country and his views on race. And Elon responds probably how you would think he does.
Right.
Do you have any desire to understand what many people of color and even trans people, how they feel about this country and how they're treated in this country? If they say and they believe that they are treated a certain way in this country, why don't you believe them?
You cannot have a situation where someone is a self-described victim and they just get to be that because that's how they feel.
See, first, that's the trope, is that they're a self-described. Everybody says, well, I'm a victim because I am speaking out against injustices, whether it's against my race, whether it's against my gender, whether it's against whatever the case is. That's the white guy trope, is that you guys just want to play victim and use this as the race card. Lana, any thoughts?
No.
You want to watch the rest of the clip?
I just immediately think about Trump. He's like, is that what you call him, Donald Trump? A self-described victim? Because that's the guy that's a self-described victim.
And that's why, because I watched the entire interview, and Don Lemon is talking to a big dummy here. Now, people would look at me and go, wait, how could you call Elon Musk a dummy? He's the richest man in the world.
It doesn't mean anything.
He's the second richest man in the world. How can he be dumb? So I work in sales, right? And I've worked in sales for over 20 years. I can sit down and I can talk to doctors. I could talk to some of the most intellectual and smartest people on the planet. But there are a lot of things that they are fucking stupid about. And Elon Musk, about stuff like this, is a big dummy. He doesn't know shit. He thinks he knows stuff. The guy's from South Africa, and I'm not saying he doesn't know it because he's from South Africa, but he's from a part of the world that doesn't have the greatest reputation. So anyway, he's a big dummy. And I think Don could have beaten him up a little bit more. I think sometimes he fumbled a little bit, but sometimes he did good. But anyway, let's listen to the rest of this interview.
I think that does happen in some cases, but not all cases. And I think that not understanding the history of the country, I think, is a real shame. Look, I've had
We should understand the history of
incredible
the country and
opportunities.
other countries.
I've had incredible opportunities as a person of color.
Right.
But I've also
You're
been
doing very well.
But I've also been discriminated against, and I know that I have, and I know that that's real. And for someone to say that that isn't happening, I should just move forward and not think about that and ignore the past, is insulting.
I'm not saying it. Don, you keep putting words in my mouth. I'm not saying it's
I didn't say that
not
you
happening.
said
I'm
it.
saying that we want to. We as a country should
Doesn't
move
even know
beyond the
that.
questions of race and gender, and we should treat people like individuals and base our opinions on them on the, you know, their character and their skills.
I don't think that anyone will disagree with that.
Exactly.
All I'm saying is that that's not happening and is not equal for everyone. That those opportunities don't happen for everyone. And I am a living example that they don't. I know that they don't because I live it.
You've been incredibly successful.
I have been,
And I
in
think-
spite of it all. But I know what I know. I've experienced what I've experienced. You haven't done that. And I cannot, I don't know what it's like to be from South Africa. I don't know what it's like to be a white man. I don't know what it's like to be a woman. I don't know what it's like to be a Latino person. I don't know that. So I wouldn't speak for them and just say, you need to move on. That's not for me to say. I believe that it would be great if the country could live up to that ideal.
All right, Lana, I want to get your thoughts.
I don't even know what the thought about which part. Elon is really Elon's an idiot. He doesn't even know how to talk about this stuff. He's like pulling out, he's like, what did Dr. King say? Character, right? Let me mention character in my answer. Like he didn't even know what to say. Like he stumbled all over a simple question. It's like you're putting words in my mouth. I'm not telling you to move on. You've done well for yourself. It's like,
But he did say that in the interview is that, we need to move on. And, I don't know. I'm a white guy. I don't know if that's to move on. I mean, this coming from the same group of people or the people who worship Elon Musk can't move on from one transgender person drinking a beer on her Instagram. I mean, when are we going to move on from that?
But how do you move on? How do you move on from a social construct? How do you move on from that?
Yeah.
How do you move on from a system that is in place? Like you can't move on. The system is still in place. It's impossible to move on. It's absolutely impossible.
I think, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, I think a lot of people in the position that Elon Musk takes, they think because we've seen vast improvement in the country in racial issues. I mean, obviously there's been, from slavery up until today, there's been, a lot of advances, but I think because they think those advances are where they're satisfied with it, that now we should just move on, where maybe not everybody that, again, like Don Lemon said at the end of that clip, which I always say, this is something I always say, and this is how I personally look at it. I personally look at it when I don't walk in the shoes of the people who are considered not what's the word I'm looking for?
Marginalized?
Marginalized. That for me to state a solid opinion on how this should go, to me is, I don't know. I find that wrong.
Right. And they're wrong for thinking just because there are Black millionaires that
Right.
it's equal, because it's not equal, because we still don't have the same amount of Black millionaires. It's still hard for people of color to get loans and open businesses because of the system, because they are treated differently, because if they think that you are a person of color, you may or may not get a loan. You experience racism even if you're rich, because who even knows? It's your skin. You can't run away from the color of your skin. Even LeBron James, we always used to say this thing, like he had the N-word sprayed all over his mansion. because
Yeah.
he dared speak out against racism. And then what happens? He gets attacked like that. It
Yep.
doesn't, the money doesn't matter. You still experience that, and it still is painful. Regardless, you don't have the money, but like, yeah, call me the N-word all you want. That is still painful. Oprah Winfrey had the same experience over in Europe when they dug on what they think she was stealing a purse or what. In one of those stores, she had an issue, a racism issue, because they didn't know who she was. She's a black lady, right? So come on, it's just
Yeah, I think you know, first of all, there's this idea because you have a lot of money that you don't feel the same human emotions that everybody else does. But again, that's that's beside the whole point of this, is that not recognizing it or not. And again, I think, you know, there's a conflation here too. I think that they think that you know, everybody is just supposed to lay down and say, you know, okay, what are we doing wrong? It's not about that. It's at least just acknowledging and recognizing that there are issues and what can we do to solve those. I mean, it just comes
how do
down
we
to
solve those if they still want to keep statues up from the Confederacy? Like,
we
it's
won't.
so right. It's just so ridiculous to say, oh well, what are you complaining about? We're fucking complaining because I can't even find. Let me just a perfect example. I can be on Twitter, and then I go to find a GIF, and if I put in fight, I see black girls everywhere.
Yeah.
Black girls taking earrings off, everything.
Mhm.
If I put something in that says you're welcome or something just as simple and nice, I can't find a black woman. I have to
Yeah.
go to the bottom. There may be one or two, but
Yeah.
anything negative kind of trope, that's in there for black women, or slang words, girl, sis, all in there.
Yeah, and that's something that you experience, and the fact that somebody wouldn't listen to that and wouldn't at least acknowledge it as something like, you know, again, that's where, you know, we'll never, it's not going to be ever solved. So, you know, it's not a
They don't
matter of playing victim. It's just a
Right.
matter of expressing some feelings. You know, even in that interview, Elon had referred to depression that he suffers and that he had a bad childhood and stuff like that. So, you know, maybe he would be able to get a glimpse if somebody said, fuck your childhood, you're, you know, who cares about your childhood? You're playing victim. You know, I don't
And I
know.
wouldn't say play victim, but I would say his version of a bad childhood would be what he didn't get the car that he wanted.
No, I mean, and maybe it's possible he had a very bad mom, very bad dad. Who knows? I don't know. And I think he says he writes about it in his book, but you know, and I have no interest in reading Elon Musk's book. I mean, you know, I know there's some things that he does in the world that could be considered good, but the bad for me outweighs it for him because he owns the probably number one platform in this country for social media, as far as the public square, if you want to call it that. And he is espousing literally every day on his own with his multi-millions of followers,
Right.
you know, just either anti-democratic, anti-race, you know, just all this kind of stuff. And Don Lemon calls him out for it on some of that, but I didn't want to play too many clips. There's another one here. This is which one is this? Oh, so Elon has this idea that and he posted a video, and I'll play the video too. In fact, let me play the video first. This is a video he posted on his
Open Borders plan to entrench single-party rule, explained in under 2 minutes. 1.
I just want to make clear, this is something that he posted today or yesterday, one of the 2 days, on his social media on Twitter.
Flood the country with untold millions of illegals by land, sea, and air from all over the world. Enough to eclipse the populations of 36 individual U.S. states so far. 2. Prioritize the needs of these millions of non-citizens over the needs of the American citizen, with free flights, buses, hotels, meals, and phones.
Keep in mind, this is a democratic plan.
Ensuring their loyalty to the political party that imported them. 3. Keep them in the country at all costs. even when they commit violent crime like murder and
Of course,
rape.
Lana and
Tack
I
the
are all
language
for
used to
that.
describe the criminals, as opposed to the criminals themselves. Slander critics as racist. 4. Ensure their privileges are made irrevocable with city and state sanctuary laws that act as population magnets. Codify permanent status and ensure non-cooperation with ICE. 5. Count the non-citizens in the census that will determine congressional apportionment in the House of Representatives. As of now, that would equal 13 extra congressional districts, a tremendous amount of electoral power. 6. Wage a massive, heavily funded lawfare campaign to change state voting laws that legalize mass mail-in ballots, no signature verification, and no proof of citizenship requirements, making it nearly impossible to prove voter fraud. 7. Lock in the permanent voting majority with campaign promises of lavish benefits and permanent privileges, enshrining generational fealty to the Democrat Party. 8. Win elections. 9. Entrenched single-party rule has been achieved.
Okay.
The best part? Your tax dollars are paying for it.
So that didn't come from Steve Bannon. That didn't even come from Donald Trump. That was posted. Now, Elon didn't create this video, but he posted this to his multi-million. What do you think of that plan? Do you think it's a good one?
Ellie, what is wrong with these people? Like, what is wrong with these people? Like, what? You're watching that and you're like, yeah, that's what they want. Like,
Well, they have the deep voice guy. They have the scary voice, the scattered video,
that's
almost
not
like the Joker is breaking
yeah,
in the middle of your.
crazy, but you can also see how somebody could get radicalized so easily and want to pick up a gun and be like, yeah, they're calling them illegals. They're showing the black people. They're showing the brown people. Hey, do white people not stay over their visas here in this country? Like, because why are we always showing these? Like, there aren't any white illegals, quotes. Like, what is this?
So,
It's so
right.
ridiculous.
Right. Well, Don Lemon asked him something in one of in the video. One of the things, I believe it was number 5, and this was the idea that we let in non-citizens. So I had to look this up because I wasn't that versed in it, but that basically the non-citizens count towards the census. So when they have these non-citizens in particular cities, that it could affect the amount of House seats that each state gets. So if you have more illegal or undocumented immigrants in particular areas, that could help Democratic states get more House seats because the census and the population. But do you want to say something, or do you want to listen to this clip first?
Okay. I don't know. Because it doesn't make sense, like what you just said.
But so what he's trying to say is not true, and I'm gonna point that out here in a second. But I mean, the part that is true is that House seats can be added or subtracted based on the population of whatever state it is. And they're saying basically because Democrats are shuffling in all these illegals in blue states, that what they're doing is they're adding House seats. And the reason why they can add House seats.
We are shuffling them to blue states. That's what we're doing. So we're the ones that are going to Texas when they cross the border,
put them on buses,
deal with Abbott, right, and putting them on buses and say, "Hey, bring them to New York," an already solidly blue state.
Right. Well, listen, maybe because you haven't heard the clip, and maybe Ilana can explain it, and maybe it'll help Ilana to understand. Right. And let's see if his explanation makes any sense for you.
Yeah.
Talk about the Great Replacement Theory now.
Spoiler alert, I saw it already. It won't make sense, but
some of the things that you post, the Great Replacement Theory, you claim that Democrats, President Biden's immigration plan to open up the border, you said that the president is getting, and Democrats are doing it to get more votes. But undocumented immigrants cannot vote in federal elections, so how is that possible?
That's true.
Right. Well, you're conflating two things. One is Great Replacement Theory. The other is, which I don't subscribe to that.
First of all, the Great Replacement Theory, part of the Great Replacement Theory is, anybody of color or any different ethnicity is replacing white people. So That's exactly what the great replacement theory is. He says he doesn't subscribe to it, although if I'm not mistaken, he has tweeted about it before, maybe retweeted some. Well, Tucker Carlson's his buddy, who that is, his number one thing is the great replacement theory. But we're going to give Elon the opportunity to maybe convince Alana that he might be right. Play. Come on. Come on.
Come on, Elon, because we want to hear the rest of this nonsense.
I know. Your face is.
Oh, God, I know. That's
There's
like
an incentive here. If legal immigrants, which I think have a very strong bias to, at least everything I've read, it's a very strong bias to vote Democrat. The more that come into the country, the more they're likely to vote in that direction. But it is, in my view, a simple incentive to increase voters, Democrat voters. So the question is like how?
I don't want to pause it because I'm afraid it's going to take a while to start up again.
That this works. One is that when the census is done, the census is based on all people in an area, whether they are citizens or not.
It's true.
So if there are a concentration of people who came here illegally in a particular state or in a particular state, that state will actually then get an increased number of House seats.
True.
So the House seat apportionment is proportionate to the number of people, not the number of citizens.
True.
So the illegals overwhelmingly go to places like California and New York, and if you just look at the math, if you look at the apportionment with and without illegals, I believe California would lose. I believe the blue state, there would be a net loss of blue states of approximately 20 seats in the House. This also applies to the Electoral College. So you say, like, well, this also applies to electing the president, because the electoral votes are also done by apportionment the same way that House seats are done.
But
Spiraling
the
a little bit.
the Electoral College is in place is to balance that, so that doesn't happen. So
all right, so they kind of get into a discussion about the Electoral College, which is not really part of what we're talking about here. But first of all, I'll let you speak on it. But one thing I just want to say, does it surprise you that a particular party that is welcoming you into the country may side with you? And I really don't think, in fact, there's a lot of immigrants that come to the country that do not vote Democrat. There are a lot of people from other countries, in fact, socialist countries, who believe that Joe Biden wants to go back to where their country was and completely votes against that. But what are your thoughts on, did he convince you?
No, and the other piece, because he's talking about the census part of it. I mean, one, you got to get people to fill out the census, which
True.
Go figure that.
Right.
And that's how, there's a few parts to it. This is how they, didn't count the communities of color, right? Because communities of color did not know that you needed to fill out the census because your community gets money and programs and things like that from it, and some house seats or whatever, right? They didn't know. So for years and years and years, people of color were not filling out those censuses, right? And
there was a time in this country they weren't even considered one full person.
That too, right? Yeah. And here's the other piece, Elon Musk. So you can count and talk about, immigrants are coming into the blue populations, whatever, bullshit. Abbott and DeSantis are bringing them there. Mm-hmm. The other piece is that with the disproportionate arrest of Black and brown people and putting them into jail, you are taking particularly Black men out of those same communities and holding them in jail. Wherefore, they are not counting or counted on anyone's census. What they are counted in the jails that you make, and make sure that you put those jails. I don't know about any other state, but I know in Massachusetts, jails are in the suburbs. Put them way out in the suburbs. So those suburbs get the benefits because they count them as being housed where? In the suburbs. Right.
And then, that's not even a point that I thought of. But there are other points that, I kind of did some research on this. And here's a surprising fact that Elon may not have known. This happened in 2021. Texas picks up 2 House seats in newest census, while Democratic stronghold states lose out. New York needed just 90 more or 89 more people counted in the census not to lose a House seat, the Bureau said. It also goes on to say, they talked about the winners. They also say the losers were concentrated in the industrial Midwest, with Illinois, Michigan, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Ohio each losing a seat. Democratic strongholds, California and New York, each lost a seat. Census officials said New York would have had would not have lost a seat if 89 more people lived there. So the same theory that he is saying benefits the Democrats,
right,
benefited the Republicans in that time. There's also one more thing that I'd like to point out that if you'd like to take a look with me here, Lana, that for somebody that wants the undocumented immigrants in this country to help them win House seats because of the census, the Biden administration ramped up deportations. Why would you want to deport anybody that's going to help you?
That piece too, Brian, right? This deporting people like crazy, more than Donald Trump did.
Now, there's no question that there are more undocumented people that have crossed the border probably over these last few years than it has in a long time. Now, from what I saw, is 2007 was the peak where there was over 12 million. Right now, I think we're at about 11. So we're not even at the peak of the amount of undocumented immigrants. I was also reading an article too that's saying, the cost benefits of the undocumented immigrants in this country, actually saves a lot of money in this country. Now, it can cost taxpayers a certain amount, that's for sure. And if you want to be upset about that, that's fine. You could be upset about that. But, there are a million different ways and things that our taxes are going to, like a Hunter Biden investigation that's going nowhere, stupid things that our tax money is going to, that they should be upset about too, but they've decided that only the immigrants being here is the only thing that they're pissed off about.
Yeah, that's why, because either they need to be sent home or they need to be processed so they can start working and paying into Social Security.
Yeah, right.
I mean, because a lot of states lost a lot of people from COVID. Y'all need workers. That's why you're trying to put kids to work right now, because you don't have anyone to do the jobs. You need immigrants need to come in. Like, why are we forgetting that that's what happens here in America? Like, what happened?
It's not even a matter of forgetting. It's something that they just never knew, and now they've been told this. So now it's just something that they have to ride with. One last thing I want to read. I took a quick picture of it, and it's not necessarily 100% on what this is, but just this idea that we have undocumented immigrants coming here and voting in droves to help Democrats win elections, which they legally are not even allowed to do that.
Right.
This is from the Conservative Heritage Foundation, which, if you are familiar with how awful they are, in fact, they are part of the ones behind that Project 2025. By the way, Lana, I started reading that. It's 900 pages long. I'm about 50 pages in, and I'm going to read it. It is scary. It's crazy, but and I'm just 50 pages in. Now it's 900 pages.
Get to the alligators and the moats.
We didn't get to that part. I didn't get to that chapter yet. But because it's 900 pages long, and I've got 1,000 different books that I'm halfway through reading, it's a good possibility I will not read the whole thing. And it's a good possibility if I did, probably will be 2025 before I get to the end of it. But this is from the Heritage Foundation. They maintain a database since 1979. This, again, if you don't know who the Heritage Foundation is, they're about as far right as it gets.
Supreme Court. That's who they are.
Right. Exactly. They appoint Supreme Court justices.
Yeah.
They say it includes a sampling of election fraud cases brought by prosecutors. In that period, about 2 billion votes have been cast in federal elections, according to the calculation for the fact checker by the Brennan Center for Justice. A recent search of the Heritage database found 85 cases involving allegations of non-citizen voting from 2002 to 2023. 85 out of billions of votes. A total of
decade.
85
You
have
said
been found.
2002 to 2023, so
That
11 years?
That is correct. That is 21 years of voting.
21 years, sorry.
Yeah,
21 years.
85 cases. But
2 decades.
Donald Trump, all he's got to do is say at his rally.
2 decades. That wouldn't even be bad in 1 year, to be honest with you, the whole of America. Like, I don't know.
That in 1 year, you'd be like 85. That's it.
Yeah,
This is
exactly.
21 years. And again, this comes directly from the Heritage Foundation. But Donald Trump will tell his rally goers, because he lost by 7 million votes, well, clearly those had to be undocumented, or as he calls them, illegals, that shouldn't be here, that are in there voting, and
Right.
Democrats let them do it.
Right.
Right.
It's it is what it is, man. Vote. Everybody
Right.
vote. Just gotta vote.
You know what? First, like and subscribe to this video, then we can think about voting. But right now, smashing that thumbs up button is probably the most important thing you can do right now.
Let's get it.
Yeah,
Thumbs
let's
up.
get it.
Let's do it.
Lana, I want to ask you
Good one.
before we leave, do you have anything else you'd like to add? Go ahead.
Okay.
Tell
No, I
us.
was just gonna say, so this is interesting.
Okay.
So I see the 30 views there,
Yes.
but then when I look here on YouTube, because I have it here so I can see the whatever comment.
Don't tell me 0.
It says 2. So weird, right?
That's how many people are watching. And first of all, how many likes do we have?
3.
Better be
So that
fucking
makes
2.
sense.
All right.
I need 2 likes out here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put one myself.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna, because I always go back and watch it after. I don't know, for some reason I always go back and do you watch yours after you do it, or you just say fuck it?
My show, I watch it so I can cut the little clips, but I don't watch I don't watch it in its entirety.
Well, so what I like to do is kind of just watch it and then write down the time of the segment, so it's easier for me to cut it up the next day.
Yeah.
So,
Sometimes it'll play in the car. Sometimes I'll do that, but no, it depends.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't know.
I didn't have anything else to offer.
Right. Well, you're a professional. You don't have to go back and watch yourself. Evaluate myself every show, but
it doesn't even matter anymore. It's just like, you know what, guys, we're just giving you the information. Take the information. If you don't believe the information, look it up yourself.
I encourage everybody to do that for sure. Or
Absolutely.
listen to what we have to say. Yeah, like you said, listen to it, and then you can fact check it if you'd like to. Part of the problem though, Lana, is that we've gotten to the point now where they question the fact checkers. They're just liberal fact checkers, and you're just like, well, fuck it. I mean, there's nothing you can do anymore, so it doesn't fucking matter.
The same ones that listen to Donald Trump say words that don't even make any sense and don't fact check him. It's just because he said it. It's true.
Yep.
It's like, and then even when they say it, they say it's untrue. So Republicans continue to say, I'm taking your Social Security. It's an entitlement.
Yep.
We don't need all of that. We need to cut back. Then you have Charlie Kirk saying, y'all need to work until you're like 70 or 80. Who says you retire? Why?
That was Ben Shapiro,
Ben
actually.
Shapiro,
We want to give the credit to the idiot who,
right.
The right idiot.
Yeah, the right idiot. Right.
Yep.
Okay. So Ben Shapiro said that. Yeah. So like they're telling you, they're setting it up so that you don't get your Social Security. They're calling it an entitlement. The other thing they're setting up is, y'all kids, if y'all think y'all gonna continue to vote at 18, not under Trump. That's how it's gonna get rid of half of you guys. They're gonna try to raise that mess to 21. They spoke it, so they're going to try to do it.
Oh, and all it's got to do is get to that Supreme Court.
Yes, exactly. That's what they don't understand. It just has to get to the Supreme Court.
It's
That's
just,
it.
and again, not just to the Supreme Court, but it's going to be a Supreme Court with minimum 2 more very radicalized judges
Absolutely.
that will get there. Let me ask you this question before we go. By the way, Thursday night, the Quest show will be on, right?
I'm not sure. I need a
Okay.
break. I'm tired.
Well, we
It's
know
like
what to do.
a break is coming very soon.
We've explained what to do. You get there Thursday, you're there. If not,
Exactly.
just move on. But anyway, it would be Thursday night, 8:00 if she does go there. And if not, you can go to her channel, the Quest show, and watch any of her
From
videos.
last week. There you go. Some
Yeah.
stuff from last week.
Yep. Quick question before we go. I mean, I know the answer. I mean, I know what we'd rather have. We want Biden to win no matter what.
Yeah.
But Trump wins, but somehow the Democrats win the House and the Senate.
I mean, that works. At least we can stop him from a lot of stuff.
Do they impeach him again?
Right. To get him out of there. Because they can absolutely get him out of there.
Yeah.
Who's the
Now, I don't know this. Could they impeach him for the same thing they impeached him for the last time? Because what would they impeach him for
He'll
the
do
third
something else. He'll
time?
do something.
Well, you're right. I mean, there's no question. He will do
He's gonna
something.
pay those bills. He's gonna
Right.
he's gonna go right in there, dictator on day one. So
Right.
it's just baffling to me that someone that owes so much debt, because that's always been the reason why they have your taxes. While you're running, they need to see if you have debt. Why say that shit if it doesn't matter if you have so much debt? What's the point of saying it? What's the point of checking people's taxes anymore?
Well, it is. You're right. It's to see what kind of debt you have and to see if you have any nefarious shit going on, which,
And he does.
surely he does.
But he still can run. That's oh my God. It's just, oh my God.
Well, that's where, and some people have asked me before, you want the Democrats to run everything? I would say right now, I definitely want them running everything, because we do need to implement laws, that will prevent any of this craziness ever again. Like, we need to put specific things in place that say, and what we need to do, we need to battle the same way they did Roe versus Wade. We need to battle to overturn this Citizens United bullshit where we're just allowing millions and billions of dollars involved in, because again, you alluded to it earlier, that they just buy and pay for half of these politicians and they just work for them. That's what it comes down to. So
absolutely.
Yep.
It's funny. What won't happen with Democrats running the government, firing Republicans. That's not going to happen, because that's not what they do. They haven't even said it. And that's the difference, right? You don't hear, and that's so funny, because you hear trolls are like, oh, Biden wants to control everything. You never hear Biden saying, I want to be a dictator on day one. If you get reelected, I'm just going to fire all the Republicans in the government and only have my loyal. You have one motherfucker that is doing that. What is so hard about this? Well, how is this the same if one person is saying that batshit crazy stuff and one person is saying, yo, I'm trying to forgive these school loans for y'all. I'm trying to cap the cost of your insulin. Like, what expanded the veterans health care, the CHIP Act, building things in America is what's happening right now. Jobs, unemployment down. But that guy
is Donald Trump's wet dream to have accomplished maybe 2 of the things Biden has done. I still can't grasp in my fucking brain how people are not acknowledging the accomplishments of Joe Biden in this. In fact, there are some progressives that even have to be forced to say, guy's done a pretty fucking good job even for progressives.
Yeah. After this pandemic, y'all forgot what was fucking going on. And now everyone's like, we're going to go in a recession. We have not. You still have your homes.
Yeah.
Interest rates had to go up a little bit on some things, but we stabilized.
That's one thing I need to go down ASAP. That's crushing us. But, again, I'm not blaming Joe. It's not Joe Biden's fault.
Right.
I understand
That-
the Federal Reserve and how it works and what we have to fucking swim through.
Right.
And it's not fun
Right.
right now. But, you know, at the same time, as it does go down and we could stay steady and stay afloat, you know, once everything flattens back out and gets ready, we'll explode just like everything else. So, so, you know, there's a Federal Reserve meeting tomorrow. It's going to be interesting what the words come out from there, and we'll see. And that's obviously going to have an effect on the market. So I would encourage everybody to keep an eye on that. If we get some Jerome Powell says something that the market's like, you know, maybe we'll see some sort of improvement with rates, but not initially, but maybe hopefully sooner than we think. But anyway, I think we've gone long enough tonight, Lana.
It's been marathon.
Yeah. So, but I want to say again, one time before we go, please like and subscribe to anybody that made it all the way through to this. We definitely appreciate it.
Oh my God.
We would love to see you. If Lana is going to be on her show Thursday night, please tune in at 8:00. You could do that live, or of course you could do that any other time at the Quest Show. Like and subscribe to her show, please. Like and subscribe to this one. Come back and see us next week, Tuesday night, 8:00.
Bye.
Good night, Lana Quest.
Good night, Brian. See you on the flip side.
Right on.